Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, but honestly, incredibly fascinating. We're going to take a completely impartial dive into a deeply philosophical piece of writing from 2006 by Deiform Buddha. It's called The Heart of the Cultivator. And look, this isn't just your standard spiritual document. It's practically a master blueprint for how to interact with the world, the cosmos, and, well, yourself.
Which brings us right to the big question. What exactly makes a true cultivator? Now, just to be clear right off the bat, in the context of this text, we aren't talking about someone out planting crops, right? A cultivator here is a spiritual seeker. The source material frames the life of this cultivator as an intricate, 8-part solution to the age-old problem of worldly suffering. It's essentially a guide to totally realigning your heart with the very fabric of existence, all to achieve ultimate peace.
Okay, let's just quickly walk through our roadmap for this. First, empathy for people and nature. Second, the universe and the divine. Third, compassion and cosmic harmony. And finally, number 4, transcending into the infinite. So, before we break all that down, here's a look at the full scope of the text. It lays out 8 specific alignments of the heart: common people, all things, the universe, gods and Buddhas, compassion, wuji, harmony, and emptiness. It's a huge progression, honestly. We're starting from the tangible, everyday folks right next door to you and zooming all the way out to the absolute void.
All right, Section 1, Empathy for People and Nature. Let's get into it.
To start, we're grounding this philosophy in stuff we deal with every single day. The text explains that a cultivator has to literally dissolve the boundary between themselves and everyone else. The phrase they use is, "The sorrow of the masses is their sorrow," and they mean that absolutely literally. A cultivator views all people as their own family, bearing the whole world's sorrow on their shoulders. The source gives this really stark, striking example. If your neighbor is crying, the cultivator cannot laugh. There's just no room for personal joy as long as there is an honest, hardworking person out there who is enduring hardship.
And this radical kind of empathy, it extends straight into the environment too. The cultivator aligns with all living things. Think trees, flowers, insects, the mountains, rivers. They all support existence. So the cultivator only takes what is strictly needed, zero greed involved. What's really fascinating here is how closely this ancient-sounding philosophy mirrors modern environmental stewardship. The text explicitly notes that a cultivator literally cannot find peace when the mountains and rivers are shattered or when living beings are harmed. Their heart is merged with the natural world.
Which brings us to Section 2, the universe and the divine.
Now that we've established the cultivator's relationship with Earth, the source material zooms out, and I mean dramatically, into the cosmos. The text states that the cultivator must align with the physical universe itself. It says, "The universe is the cradle of my consciousness." They actually view the expansive universe as a traveling companion. There's this really beautiful description of the cultivator receiving greetings and blessings from the twinkling stars and the sun and moon. But it's a two-way street. It's a relationship of absolute dependence. The cultivator recognizes that if the universe ceases to exist, well, so do they.
Now, what's really interesting here is this very specific number, 36. Just as we're getting grounded in the stars, in the moon, the text makes a sudden, almost surreal leap. It says the cultivator's heart must melt into the universe by traversing 36 dimensional spaces and 36 worlds. It's a huge, vivid, metaphysical jump. We go from observable astronomy right into the deep end of esoteric cosmology.
And this brilliantly illustrates the text's deeply syncretic approach to theology. Just looking at the source objectively, we see a totally fascinating blend of belief systems. The cultivator is instructed to align their heart with gods and Buddhas simultaneously. So they revere Jesus as a god and a father, and Shakyamuni Buddha as a teacher. The imagery used here is just striking. It explains that the cultivator metaphorically wears Jesus' armor while wielding Shakyamuni's staff. It's this complete merging of consciousness with these totally distinct divine figures.
Moving right along to Section 3, Compassion and Cosmic Harmony.
So, we've looked at all the outward alignments, right? People, nature, the cosmos, deities. Now the text turns the focus inward to look at the incredibly delicate internal states required to do this. And the text employs some truly striking poetry here. It describes finding mercy in a small space like a snail's horn. It says the cultivator's heart must be delicate, like tender shoots in early spring. They have to nurture compassion as if caring for a newborn baby. Or, and I absolutely love this one, appreciating the fragile, fleeting beauty of crystal morning dew before it vanishes. It's all about finding immense, profound care in the absolute tiniest moments of existence.
But of course, the crucial point is how this gentle compassion actually balances out with the harsh realities of the real world. The cultivator has to align with a heart of harmony. Looking at these massive dualities, yin versus yang, black versus white, good versus evil, the text explains that the beauty of symmetry, transformation, and moderation is actually found in the clash between these forces. Like it's the contrast of black and white that reveals colors in the first place. It's all about embracing moderation, which you find by acknowledging and then discarding the extreme ends.
And this balance builds up this incredible internal resilience. A cultivator has to remain completely unperturbed by nature's shifts. Whether it's drizzling rain, the rolling waves of a vast sea, or just the blooming and wilting of a flower in the garden, they remain detached. The text says that by constantly staying in a state of being, they contemplate the subtlety of the universe. And then, by being in a state of non-being, they contemplate its absolute limits.
Which brings us to our final stage. Section 4. Transcending into the infinite.
To really grasp this ultimate stage, we have to define a dense, esoteric concept called Wu-Ji. Wu-Ji basically means the infinite. It's a state where you completely transcend the human bonds of life, death, honor, and disgrace. Reaching Wu-Ji means the cultivator actually lets their heart die in the present moment. They don't rejoice in life and they don't grieve for death. Instead, their soul drifts away to merge with the essence of the Tao, just existing eternally in this infinite space of selflessness.
And this naturally leads to the alignment of emptiness. The text makes a pretty bold claim here. Having a heart is the source of suffering. Now, why is that? Well, according to the source, the heart gives birth to desire, and desire attracts demons and disturbances. You can actually draw a really clear parallel here between this concept of emptiness and modern secular mindfulness practices. The whole goal is to let the mind remain totally unaffected by external conditions. The cultivator just does not allow their internal state to be tossed around by whatever is happening on the outside.
I actually want to slow down for a second to really let this piece of profound poetry land. The text says, all conditioned dharmas are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows, like dewdrops and a lightning flash. It's an incredibly powerful way of saying that our physical reality and all the conditions we attach to it are just a fleeting illusion. In this framework, a million years is just a second, and a second is a million years.
Ultimately, the cultivator entrusts their life to what the text calls the greatest creator and the arrangements of the Tao. But here's the twist. In this absolute state of emptiness, the greatest creator is actually realized as the cultivator's own spirit. They act entirely in accordance with their intrinsic nature. They just take things as they naturally come and go, taking advantage of opportunities as they pop up without forcing absolutely anything.
Because according to the text, we are all dreaming within this dreamlike world. The ultimate final goal of the cultivator is to awaken, to break free from the cycle, and return to their true home. Looking at this whole philosophy of profound empathy, massive cosmic scale, and ultimate emptiness, it really leaves us with one incredibly provocative question. Are you ready to break free from the dream? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating text with me today.